Now, you might have already seen a bunch of different videos that came out about the Xbox Ally and the Ally X like the day before the device even came out. And the thing is, Microsoft was sending out a lot of these devices to a lot of content creators. The problem was, in a lot of the videos I seen them talk about this device, they all said that they was getting a bunch of updates throughout the process of them having it, and it really changed the experience. And the experience of what they got is not the experience that you're going to get at retail. And I've had mine already for a few days, and this is not like a video review. I'll be doing that later. This is more of just like an early impressions of my thoughts of the Xbox Ally X. Now, right out the gate, I'm just ripped the band-aid off for the PlayStation people. This device is a little weird because it is technically the first Xbox branded device that can run PlayStation games. The keyword being branded, but I'll let that just sink in for a bit. Now, I'll say right out the gate when I picked it up, the device felt really good. It felt extremely premium. Like the grips on it felt right. It felt like picking up a controller. It's a little more plasticky than I thought it would be, but being plasticky doesn't mean that it takes away from the experience. I don't know. I just thought it was gonna have more of like a metal or a more heavier type of vibe or feel to it, but it's fine because it being a handheld, I don't want to be lugging around something heavy, and it's already heavier than the regular Xbox Ally. As one coming from the original Switch, the OLED, the Switch 2, things like the G Cloud, for example, and holding those for any amount of time was like extremely painful and tiresome. But this is a device where I can at least hold it for an hour without feeling like any real fatigue. I downloaded a bunch of games on here. I almost already filled up the entire terabyte, which isn't necessarily so hard to do nowadays since games are like 200-300 gigabytes, it feels like. But I loaded a bunch of games on here. I tried to do a lot of AAA type of games, but also some more 2D type of games or indie games. So I had an all-around good range. And I will say with the, let me read this in my notes because I keep forgetting the name of it. AMD's new AI Z2 Extreme processor. That name's too long. With that and the 24 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, it runs things very well, which I'll get more into a tech spec in a second. Also, for those who don't know, this does have a 1 terabyte SSD, so you can store a good amount of things on there. You're probably still going to need to get like a micro SD card that you can put into it to expand the storage more, whether it's another 512 or a terabyte or whatever, but I would suggest doing that. This device seems to run relatively cool and quiet when running a lot of these demanding games, and it actually surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be as quiet and as cool as it was, but it did a good job of doing that. And yes, that does include running PlayStation games on here, even PlayStation 5 games. I know I've seen a lot of people on Twitter like show how it runs horribly running Spider-Man, and for example, on here. And I'll say personally, I didn't have any issues running Spider-Man. Spider-Man run great for me, or games like Days Gone or whatever. So again, I know people are upset that the brand of the device is Xbox and it's running PlayStation games, but it seems to run fine. I also say that it's kind of funny how like literally just earlier this year, people were swearing up and down that PlayStation was going to block this. Even in some of my own videos, they was like, no, PlayStation's going to block their games. I'm like, they're not blocking much of nothing. But the really cool thing about all of this is it kind of gives you a glimpse into what the next Xbox home console is going to be like. Now, yes, a PC for the most part, but the fact that your next Xbox could be the only system that you need because it's going to be able to run both of the big platforms is going to be kind of cool. Now, on top of the hardware specs that I list, like the processor and the storage option, this also has an 80 watt hour battery in the device. It also has 2 dual USB-C 4.0 slots on there. And I stated this in my unboxing video, but the really cool thing about one of the ports on there is that you can hook up something that's powerful like an eGPU to it, plug it up to your monitor, and even get even more performance out of that. So I think that that is actually really cool. As battery use goes, with that 80 watt hour battery that I talked about earlier, I noticed when I'm playing more heavier demanding games like Cyberpunk, for example, I'm getting somewhere between 2 hours to 2.5 hours, where a game that's more on the indie level or 2D type of style game, I see something closer to 3 to 4 hours. So the thing is, if you're about to take that long flight somewhere, you may still need to bring a charger or some type of charging pack with you, because by the time the plane lands, your device may already be dead. But if you're playing this around the house or anything like that, it will last you, but you're definitely going to want to throw it on the charger. Now, this part is where I had a lot of issues with the device. Now, I'll go ahead and say this right out the gate. I was surprised with how buggy this device was for a Microsoft product, and that's saying a lot. Now, right out the gate, yes, this does have an extremely long setup process. Like doing the downloads and updates surprised me. I will say it was close to an hour of setting this thing up before it actually worked. The install was slow as heck. The Wi-Fi just kept dropping for whatever reason, and not even just on this device, it did it on my wife's Ally. Nothing else in my house dropped. It was literally just these two devices. So I don't really think it was my network, but you know, I know there's different ports and things like that that could have been causing issues. But see, that would have been fine if that's where it ended. But the thing is, actually, when I got into the device, there was more issues happening. Constant freezing and unresponsiveness, screen and display issues, random things crashing on there. And then a lot of times there was just nothing you could do until you just fully restart the device. I kind of feel like Xbox is using us as beta testers, just unpaid. But if you guys are looking to pick one of these up, that's just kind of reality that you are going to run into right now. This thing needs a good chunk of updates, and they're just not there yet. Hopefully in the next week or so, we'll get those updates. But as of right now, it is super, super buggy. Now, here's the thing. Doing a lot of custom tweaks and changing of the settings for PC gamers, that's normal. You guys are used to it. But I feel so bad for you Xbox gamers or just console gamers, because thanks to Microsoft's marketing, you may come into this thinking that this is legitimately an Xbox. Now, if you're more of a casual gamer and you're really looking to get into handheld gaming and you see that this is an Xbox coming out, you're gonna pick this up and think, oh, this is great. But in reality, there is sometimes a good amount of tweaking and customizing that you have to do every time you start a new game for the first time. Now, I will say it does have things like Armory Crate where you can go ahead and pick one of the pre-selected options there. But even with that being the case, sometimes you still have to go deeper into the game settings and even do more tweaking. But the whole plug and play feature that you feel like you get when getting an Xbox device just isn't there yet. That's something that you're going to have to also realize. You're going to be picking this device up and it is going to be very, very buggy out the gate. Here's the one little caveat with that. I don't seem to notice this a lot when I'm playing an actual game. When I'm playing actual games, it seems to work. The problem that I run into is when it comes to starting up games, the beginning of a game, or going through the system menus or anything like that. That's where I started noticing the problem with this device. And what's funny is I told my wife, get ready to go into the settings and customize and tweak every single game you want to fit your style. And she turned and said, I thought this was an Xbox. And I'm like, I know, right? So when it comes to streaming games over just the cloud, I've had like no issue with that for the most part, or at least not one that I really noticed. Where the issue comes in is in remote play. And for those who don't know, that's pretty much just this device connecting to your home Xbox console. Now, the question is, why would you do that? Well, there's a few reasons. One, storage option. My Xbox has 2 terabytes in there. This one only has 1. I can upgrade it, but as right now, it only has 1. So for example, I bought Battlefield 6 on the Xbox. Should have bought it on Steam, but I bought it on the Xbox, and that copy of the game did not carry over to this. So I have to cloud stream into it if I want to play it on there. And it actually works really good. When it works, it feels like the game is installed locally on the device. But a lot of the other times, you don't even see the option listed there. Like for example, when I was setting up my wife's Xbox Ally, I spent like an hour to 2 hours making sure that all of my settings on my home modem, her Xbox, and her Ally were set perfectly, doing restarts and reboots and opening up ports and making sure everything was flowing through. And just to find out that all I really had to do was log out of her account on her Ally and log back in, and then it was just there. And now that seems to be the temporary fix for it. That's what makes it work. So in reality, it's not the biggest of deals. And I don't personally do a lot of remote play. I don't plan on doing a whole lot of remote play with this device, but my wife has started doing that. So like I said, when it works, it works. It's just, it's kind of hit or miss sometimes. Sometimes you'll just pick up your device and you just will not see the option there. So if you take this out of town and you want to go ahead and do the remote play, you might run into the fact that it just may not work. But who knows, maybe you'll do the log out and log in and then it will work. I don't know. It's kind of random. Now, of course, the big elephant in the room with this device is when it comes to the price. This device will set you back $999. So this thing is $1,000. That is like premium territory. So this thing isn't competing with like budget devices like the Steam Deck, or it's kind of weird thinking that this is a budget device, but the Switch 2. This is more like high-end handhelds or entry-level mid gaming laptops. See, with this device, I already started to notice that you're paying a lot for the portability, the power, and the Xbox branding. So for PC players, it's like having freedom in your hands. You're not tied to your desktop. For Xbox players, it's a wake-up call to have some patience because this is a PC effectively. And that is a big thing for me. After a long day of work and editing videos, the last thing I want to do is sit at my desktop even longer and play games. But like I said, I do have a lot of games on Steam. So having the ability to take all those games with me somewhere else, this is very nice. Again, any PC handheld can do that, but again, you know, $1,000. Now, if you don't care about price tag, you can go ahead and get a Lenovo Legion Go 2, which is like over what, $1,300. I'm not doing that, but it does have like a bigger screen. It does have, I think, what, Joy-Cons or whatever you want to call them on there, and it is a cool looking device. And I believe you can even put the Xbox experience on that, but again, it's upward of $1,300. So ultimately, this is where I'm at when it comes to this handheld right now. Again, early impressions. The device is buggy, it's unpredictable, and it's definitely nowhere close to plug and play. It's like exciting and yet frustrating at the same time, but like full of potential. Now I'm gonna keep testing this out and I'll update you guys in my full review. I'm also gonna be testing out the Xbox Ally as well for those who are interested in that more cheaper entry model. For those who don't know, that device is $600, at least here in the States. But for right now, this device is the closest thing that we ever had to an Xbox handheld that just happens to be able to run PlayStation games. Remember, Xbox branded. Now, as right now, being a person that comes from never having a PC handheld before, this is still pretty much an awesome device. But if you're someone that has like the Lenovo Legion Go already, or the previous Ally X, or even a Steam Deck, this device may not really be that exciting for you. I will say this is definitely exciting to kind of push and nudge console gamers into the PC realm. So when Xbox does come out with their next handheld that is more of a PC, they're gonna be a little bit more ready for it. And that's kind of where I stand on it right now as early impressions. It's cool, it's exciting, it's buggy. I kind of weirdly like it, but I can't justify the price. Like I could not, as of right now, tell anyone to pick this thing up for the price, especially with how buggy it is. Again, we'll see what happens by the time I do the full review. Now, if you guys are interested in things like if this can replace your laptop or your console, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And tell me in the comments, do you think that this is the future of Xbox, or do you feel like this is just another Windows experiment? But anyways, until next time, I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya.